Stephen, I think this is your question. I mean, I know it's from you. I think this is one you referred to. What is the definition of the word estimation used exclusively in Leviticus, starting with Leviticus 5:15, 5:18, Leviticus 6:6, and a lot in Leviticus chapter 27? It seems to be something exact, not estimated. Nobody has ever asked me what estimation means in Luke chapter 15, verse 5. So you get the bell. And we go to Leviticus 5:15. And let's see this. I like Stephen's a man of word studies, and I like that. I think that studying a word, stopping when you get to a word and saying, that doesn't seem right. What's up with that? That's not the way I understand this word. It doesn't seem to be saying this. Let's dig into it. You can learn so much in that as you go through. I think word studies are just absolutely fabulous. Sometimes you learn, some great theological truth. Other times you just learn language better, which is a nice thing. Like last Thursday night in our Roman study, I had to eat crow on the word atonement, because I took atonement in the modern usage, and I was saying they shouldn't have used atonement in the King James. They should have used reconciliation like the modern translations do. And yet that's what I used to say. Now I say the King James guys were better linguists than I am. Why in the world would I tell them that they got the wrong word without at least doing a little bit of research? So I did some research, and I found out that atonement today doesn't mean the same thing as atonement in the Oxford English Dictionary used in 1611. So you learn a little bit of language stuff and you quit making a fool of yourself. We don't want to be a fool, do we, Stephen? So here we go. Estimation, Leviticus 5:15. If a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance in the holy things of the Lord, he shall bring his trespass unto the Lord, a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation by shekels of silver, after a shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. So bring it with thy estimation by shekels of silver. Now, this let me talk about shekels first. Shekel is the word that is used today for English currency. It's called the New Israeli Shekel, but you buy and sell in shekels in Israel. And that's because the modern Hebrew language is built off the biblical Hebrew language. It was a resurrected language, built off the Hebrew, and so they said, okay, what do we Hebrews call our money? Well, we call it shekels. In biblically, shekel, we don't really know how much a shekel of silver was worth. I had this last Sunday preaching on Abraham purchasing the cave of Machpelah, and he purchased it for 400 shekels of silver. But how much is that? Any estimation you get is somebody's guess, total guess. The best we can do is compare it to a couple other things and say, okay, well, this was worth, so many shekels and that, and try to do it. But we don't really know what a shekel of silver was worth. Okay. But here, we're not talking about shekels. We're talking about estimation, with thy estimation. Let's look at a couple of things here. Let's first of all take this particular word and open up in the Strong's Concordance over here. Here in the blue section over here, I know you can't read that, but you can probably see that there's some bold. That's the books that it's in. 27 times in Leviticus, there it is, 27 times in Leviticus, 2 in Job, 1 in Psalm, 1 in Judges, 1 in Numbers, 2 in 2 Kings. I tell you what, let's look up 2 Kings, just because there's 2 of them, and show all in 2 Kings. So this particular word, the Hebrew word, is found twice in 2 Kings. But it's not translated estimation in 2 Kings, so here's where it's translated. The money that every man is set at, and all the money that cometh into the man's heart to bring into the house of the Lord. Okay, so here they're bringing the money of the dedicated things. I assume the context here is the building of the temple. and they were to bring the money that every man is set at, and all the money that cometh into a man's heart. That is, here's your estimation, but that's used in a very specific way. Here's your bill. This is the dollar amount you owe. This is the shekel amount you owe. You want to give more than that? Hey, we would love to have your offering. That's 2 Kings 12:4. Let's go to 23:5. Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of everyone according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Okay, that seems to be not an estimation, as we would use estimation today, but a very specific amount. Now, in interpreting Scripture, the rule is find the easy one to interpret the hard one. Again, we could go through the 20-something times that it's used in the book of Leviticus, but here, these two times in 2 Kings seem to be an exact amount of currency that is due. An exact amount of currency that is due. And so coming back to the left side of the screen here, he's supposed to bring his lamb with thy exact amount of shekels of silver after the shekel of a sanctuary for the trespass offering. There is a bill that you bring. Looks like the word. Now, we might say, and this is where I used to be again before I did a little bit of study, we might say, King James should not have used the word estimation. They got it wrong. There's two things we could say. One is they shouldn't have used the word estimation. They got it wrong. The second someone might say is, see, this shows that we need a new translation. We need something more modern because estimation, that's either the wrong word or it doesn't mean that today, and therefore we should use something else. I just utterly disagree with that. I think that we should put our big boy pants on and learn what estimation meant in 1611 and figure that out and teach that to our children, because I think if we teach that to our children, they become better linguists. And I am pretty convinced that a good linguist has an open door to anything they want to do. A good linguist is going to be able to learn enough to be able to be skilled at anything they want to do. They're going to be able to sell it, convince others, or, you know, if nothing else, a good linguist is going to be able to write pretty poems and sell them. So let's go to the Oxford English Dictionary and look up estimation. By the way, some of you might say, well, anybody could go to the Oxford English Dictionary and do that. And that's almost true, but it costs money. You don't get in the Oxford English Dictionary free. Unless you go down to your local library, they might have one, or they might have access to it online. And you might check with your library. Those of you who want it, call your library first and say, hey, if I have a library card, can I get Oxford English Dictionary online? They might tell you yes. And you save yourself, I don't know, $100 a year or something like that. It's not the cheapest thing to get into. I use it for work. It seems valuable to me. I use it all the time, just nearly every day. So I subscribe to it. I don't even know if you can buy a print copy anymore, but it's that big one at the library. I mean, like, it's that big. So you could go down to the library and look it up. Okay, estimation. Here we go. Comes from Middle English. There's the forms of it. Let's see. The etymology. I like to study the etymology because that tells me where the word came from, not necessarily how it's used, but that kind of helps me get that. Estimation, a French word, corresponding, okay. Same root as esteem. That might help us. We'll see. Okay, their number one definition is the action of estimating or esteeming. Now, I have a feeling our biblical usage is esteeming rather than estimating, because again, we might call someone up and say, hey, I need some snow plowing done. Would you give me an estimate? That's a ballpark. But the word esteem leads a little more to, no, this is the value I have put on it. Let's see. Okay, right there, definition 1A, the action of appraising, assessing, or valuing, statement of price, valuation. And he points out Wycliffe, Exodus 22:5, if any man harm field, that's Old English, I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. Whatever best thing he hath in his field, he shall restore for estimation of the harm. So appraisal, it becomes a very specific word. Number, the Dewey Ream, 2 Kings 7:5, they emulated sheep and oxen without estimation and number. Without a fixed amount. Let's go to this Chamberlain's Magna Britanniae Notifia. How's that? 1743. Silver and gold have been chosen to be the instruments of exchange and estimation of all things. That is, it's the currency. Instrument of exchange and estimation. Once again, I think that is a very specific thing. You got, here you go. Those two. It's a quarter and it's a nickel. A quarter has been estimated to be 5 nickels. Well, we probably wouldn't say that today because a quarter is 5 nickels. If I say, have you got a change for a quarter? I need some nickels. You'd give me 5 if we were exchanging them. So estimation becomes that very specific word. As you say, it seems to be something exact, not estimated. So I was looking to see if there's any... Well, no. I was looking to see if there's any other definition that fit that. Later on, okay, down the list, here's number 3 of estimation, the process of forming an approximate notion of numbers, quantities, magnitudes without actually enumeration or measurement. Now, this one, it appears, that's the one that stuck. That's the one we still use today. But this is a good reminder that we have to let the author determine the meaning of the word. And the King James translators, they seem to take estimation as an exact amount, and here is what it is esteemed, here is what it is appraised for. If you want to do a little more study on that, I would look into the etymology of the word esteem, the verb esteem, and see how that comes out. My guess is it would be, it would lead us into how this came about to mean that's the exact amount there. Thanks, Steve, for an exacting question. I appreciate it here.